Bah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, episode number 18. I am your host, Jackson. I'm here with my co-hosts, um, Nicholas and Sean.
What's up?
And we have an incredible guest today, Alex. Hello. Alex Phillips. Hello.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Basically, great to have you here. Basically, to start it off, tell me a little bit about who Alex Phillips is, if you.
So I am top 10 in the world in professional long drive. And that's kind of like the big thing that I do. I do a lot of charity and corporate appearances right now because the entire season got canceled until the World Championships.
Wow.
But I also play as well. So I'm on the Symetra Tour.
Oh, that's very cool.
I have both sides going.
Would you say you spend more time on your long drive aspect or your professional golf career?
The thing about long drive is you can only practice for about 45 minutes because, I mean, your swing, I don't go full 48, I only hit a 47-inch shaft, but at my size, it's a lot of effort to swing those clubs.
Yeah.
And so, and you're swinging hard, like you can practice putting for a couple hours, whereas like you can only hit so many drivers. Yeah. So the time aspect, I definitely put more into the other 13 clubs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's the big difference. I mean, long drive is just, it's a lot harder than practicing, chip shots, shorter shots. You're just swinging as hard as you can.
Yeah.
So what are like your long-term goals within golf? Like, do you want to focus more on long drive long-term, or are you more focused on playing professionally?
If I can figure out how to make some putts, I really want to focus on playing. The long drive is awesome. It's fun. And it gives me a huge advantage when I'm playing, especially in women's golf, playing 64 to 6,700 yards, having a average 300-yard drive helps a lot. So I'm hitting a lot of wedges, par threes. I'm hitting a lot shorter clubs in. So I do have that advantage coming from long drive into playing golf. But I had a weird transition. Most girls, play college, turn pro, and then later on get into long drive. I kind of did the opposite. I played college. I got out of golf completely. And then I got back into long drive, and now I'm playing. So I kind of had that backwards go. So it's definitely a little different look at it for me. But I like both, and hopefully I can continue to play. And the fact that long drive, we have one competition all year, so it'll be an interesting season with the whole Corona thing.
Yeah. Would you say that? Well, first of all, actually, I'm curious. What's been your best finish so far on the World Long Drive circuit?
So I started in 2015. I went to my first World Championships, and I got top 4 at the World Championships my first year. Since then, there's been some more competitions. The Golf Channel bought the Long Drive Tour, so it's kind of become a little bit more known. I've kept my top 10 ranking for the past 5 years.
That's awesome.
Which, at my size, I'm the smallest competitor. It's pretty great. Not saying big and tall people are always going to win, but they do have an advantage in the sport of long drive. Sorry. My alarm dog. But at the same time, hold on a second. Come here. Dude, you are so annoying. So I've kept that top 10 ranking, which has been great. I won an event. I won an event in Mesquite. I've gotten top 2. I got Mesquite, Clashland Canyon 2018. And then I got that second place finish there, and then I didn't compete for almost 2 years. I didn't compete from April of 2018 until Worlds of 2019. So April until October of 19. So a year and a half that I didn't compete in long drive. So yeah, it's kind of, I kept that top 10 ranking, but I've kind of had a weird schedule with it.
Yeah.
Is there a reason you didn't compete? Like, was it an injury, or were you just kind of burnt out and needed a break?
It was actually I was kind of focused in playing, getting ready for Q school. And the long drive schedule just did not fit with my schedule. The next event after Mesquite was in Atlantic City, New Jersey, which I heard was an awesome place. Unfortunately, it was the day after my dad's birthday, and I had already committed to spending time with my family that weekend. And so I tried my best. I physically could not get from, we were on a cruise for my dad's birthday. I could not get from there to Jersey in time. There was one flight. It was in red eye. It was like a 13-hour travel. And then it was still in it. Like if we had flown to like an actual city, like long drive just has this habit, like in Tennessee, we're in like Kingsport, Tennessee, which is in the middle of nowhere. Like go to Nashville where there's an actual airport.
Yeah.
And same thing happened in Atlantic City, and just my schedule just didn't work out. I wanted to continue to compete, but I had already committed. Like there was another event, I believe it was the Tennessee one. I already committed to this awesome charity event I've been doing for a few years, and I physically could not get from that event to the middle of nowhere, Tennessee.
Yeah.
But nope, sorry.
Oh no. So being like the shortest in the field, where do you credit like your power from?
Two things. One, I was a gymnast when I was younger, so I grew up with a lot of strength, and I've kept that. I got into powerlifting when I wasn't playing golf. I hit 300 on my squat and dead, and so I'm super strong. And then I have a really good golf swing. It's really efficient. So that's good equipment and an efficient golf swing is kind of how I get away with it. If you watch a lot of the girls I compete with that are bigger than me, they have what looks like kind of a compact swing. Their hands are a little bit lower, whereas I cheat and I put my hands higher. So being shorter but the higher hands, I'm able to kind of still have that radius in the golf swing where I can gain some club head speed. So I kind of cheat physics a little bit. But I have a great golf swing. I've put a lot of effort into it, and that strength that I've just kind of always had and kept up has been big.
Is there a big difference between your long drive swing and like your normal driver swing during a round?
It's not huge for me. If you look at my long drive swings, I don't go really past parallel. I don't super exaggerate it, but it is faster. On the golf course, I only swing at about 105 miles an hour club head speed, whereas in long drive, I'm pushing about 116, 117. Yeah, so that's a big difference, is I do get a lot faster. I get a little bit longer in the backswing, but not excessively. I kind of have that Finau shorter swing anyways, so going just 2 parallel is long for me. And so the big part is just, that smash factor and just being efficient with the right equipment.
Yeah.
How'd you originally get into long drive?
So it was actually a funny story. I was at the PGA show. I was the assistant coach of college at the time, and I've always been long. I was long in high school and college. And, there's not a lot of girls that keep up with me. I mean, I'm top 10 in the world now, and I have that resume, but at the time I was just like, yeah, I hit the ball far. And I'm sitting on the range at the PGA show at the demo day, and this chick next to me is like keeping up with me, if not out hitting me. And I'm like, who is this? Like, we both were kind of giving each other like, who's this girl? Ends up being the 2013 world champion, Heather Lemaster, and now Heather Manfreda. And we kind of did that, like, who are you? And she started talking to me about long drive, and ended up, she lived in Sacramento when I was in Reno at the time. And we kind of started practicing together, and I actually competed my first time with her old equipment. And so she was the one that really talked me into competing.
Oh, very cool.
Awesome.
So you're West Coast?
Yes, born and raised in Nevada.
Oh, Nevada. Very cool. So if I were to say the word Oregon, is that weird to you?
That's terrible. That's almost as bad as people saying Nevada.
Nevada. Those are 2 things I do for sure.
Yeah.
We actually just had this guy named Alex Romo on our podcast, and
we played in college together.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I believe you guys went to the same school. How would you describe your kind of college golf career, golf game, or where it was at that time compared to now?
So college was awesome. We were one of the only schools that our coach coached both the men's and women's teams.
Oh, very
So
cool.
we got to practice with the boys a lot, which was a lot of fun for us. Especially me, I always tended to have just the wrong schedule, and so I would end up with the boys team a lot more than the girls, which was fine. I grew up practicing and playing with guys, so it was fun for me. College was great. We had 7 freshmen come in my freshman year on the girls' side, out of 10 girls. That was a lot. So we had definitely an interesting team relationship. I ended up tying for first place in freshman year in an event, and I did pretty well in college. I ended up having a knee surgery, and took a while to recover from that. And that's kind of my last 2 years in college. Kind of. Sorry, my puppy's 7 months old, and she still has a lot of energy.
That's so cute.
She's usually pretty good, but this is also usually when I take her on a walk, so she's kind of just wandering. Yeah, so college was, I loved my experience in college. Coach was awesome in that he let me keep my swing coach back home. He let me kind of practice when and where we could. I went to college originally for an engineering degree. I ended up not getting an engineering degree because that was too much work. But
Yeah.
I was very lucky. I ended up moving out with my best friend on her property just a little bit south of San Luis Obispo in Avila Beach. I lived a quarter mile from the water on 50 acres. I spent half as much on rent as I did sharing an apartment the year before. I was so spoiled in college. So, I had a great experience between the amount of practice, the great golf courses we got to play, and then the crowning jewel, we got to play Cypress Point as our senior day. So that, yeah, a little bit spoiled, but that was an awesome experience.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yes. I've now played, I think, everything on the peninsula. That was kind of the last one I needed to. If you guys ever get out to Monterey, you have to do it. I've had some great experiences out there. I love all the golf courses out there. So that was just, a kind of icing on the cake of finishing college golf.
So going to Cal Poly, I asked this question to everyone who goes to Cal Poly. I'm a big David Nwaba fan. I don't know if that rings a bell. He probably doesn't, or it does. Any David Nwaba stories, or were you a David Nwaba fan as well?
I don't have any stories with him, no. I wish I did. But of all of our good alumni, you could bring up John Madden, you could bring up Ali Yankee, bring up Nwaba. Really?
He's a big David Nwaba fan. What else is there to say?
Is it because he played for the Bulls?
Chicago Cubs, but that's all right. No, I unfortunately don't have any stories with him, but at least you know Cal Poly.
Yeah. We're big Cal Poly fans. The only.
I thought you were going to elaborate.
You started to elaborate, then just completely.
And then just stopped.
It was even better to watch your face as you were doing that. But I guess back to college golf, moving on a little further, what has helped you improve your game since college, would you say?
The biggest thing recently is I got a new swing coach. Brian Pate is the director of instruction up at Martis Camp in Truckee, which is an awesome golf course. And I've known Brian a long time. He's kind of become a family friend. But he was the assistant pro to the head pro at the time, who was my swing coach. He ended up becoming the general manager, and he doesn't really teach anymore. So I kind of went through a few coaches in the past couple years. A few coaches. I went through a lot of coaches trying to find someone that I really liked. I just didn't really mesh with it. I took a little bits and pieces from every coach that I was with. But Brian I started working with last summer, and he has really been influential in my game to where, I'm still able to compete in long drive without World last year. I'd been working with Brian for 4 months. Right before Q school, we started preparing together. And I ended up not making it through to second stage. So I was like, I'm going to go to Worlds. He goes, cool, swing fast. I'm like, great, thanks, Brian. But my swing was good enough that I could do that. The World Championships, I actually found out 2 days before, Friday night, we called. One of the girls ended up getting hurt, unfortunately, but it's easier for them to fill the spot than it was to rearrange the pool play. So I got a flight out that night, competed the next day. But I really attribute a lot of that because Brian has my swing in such a good place. He also started working with a lot of stats and stuff. So he got me doing decade, which is huge for me. We're starting to notice a lot of patterns we didn't notice before. I mean, I know I needed to work on my short game, obviously, but we're starting to notice that there's very specific parts of my short game that we need to work on. And that's something that we've just never really done. It's like, it's always been work on your short game, work on putting and stuff. But we started to notice with decade that my putting, like from 4 to 6 feet is pretty good, but from 8 to 10 feet, it's not. That's kind of like that number is just like below PGA Tour average by a lot. It's not even close. And so that's the kind of things that we're starting to notice is there's very particular patterns. And that's something no other coach has really worked with me on. They're like, yeah, keep your stats. And then just nothing, you know, and we started, especially with how in depth we were getting, we started to notice that I hit more greens from the left side of the fairway for whatever reason. I think my brain likes the view from that side, and I've always hit a cut. So I'm always hitting from the right side of the fairway. So that's a disconnect, right? So, you know, do we go to a draw? So I'm hitting from the left-hand side. That's the kind of conversations that we're starting to have, that we're really starting to get into these patterns and starting to not only work on the weaknesses, but work on very specific spots. And that's been a big thing for me, working with Brian, but also just since college, since coaching, and kind of getting more particular with my own game, getting a little more specific with my practice, not just like work on wedges. We're working a little more specific sections.
Sean, I know you got a question you want to ask, but have you been able to, like, with Corona and this quarantine, have you been able to continue to practice, or has it been kind of hard, especially with your coach? And
it's not as bad as Chicago.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we were closed down for 3 weeks.
Oh.
And so that was the longest I haven't touched my golf clubs since probably middle school.
Oh.
I set up a net in my backyard, but there's only so much you can do with that. You know, I mean, it was kind of nice to get kind of away from it for a minute. The unfortunate part was I wanted to get over to Arizona to work with my coach because he was down there for the winter season. My dad had some complications with a knee surgery, so I really couldn't leave town. I'm the only one that doesn't have like a real 9-to-5 job, so I'm able to help him. So yes and no with that Corona. I was kind of able to keep it up, but at the same time, that just like coexisted with the knee surgery and didn't really get to practice. So kind of, which really sucked because after Worlds, I took some time off preparing for the Monday qualifiers, and I finally had my game in a good spot. I went out, I shot 66, 68, 67. I was getting ready. I was heading over to Phoenix to go to that first Monday. I was literally packing my car, and I got the email from the LPGA that they're canceling it. And I was like, cool. Thanks. That was really rough. That my game was really in a good spot. I was really excited at the beginning of the season. And now they're not doing any Monday qualifiers. So I've really, like, the Corona, not only has it, like, the last 3 weeks, no golf, it's also destroyed my entire plans for the season.
Perfect.
Yeah, right? Super excited about that. So
yeah, it's brutal. That sucks. When do you think you'll start getting back on that grind?
The worst part now is that because everything's been postponed, everything's postponing and rescheduling over each other. So like 2 of the events I really wanted to play in were the Colorado and the Texas State Opens. They're both great events for the women's side. Colorado is one of the biggest purses, and Texas, winner gets an exemption to an LPGA event.
Oh, wow.
Both great events.
Yeah.
Both scheduled on the same day this year. There's not that many events for us to play in, and now they're all doubling over each other. Now there's no Monday qualifiers, so that takes out all of that option. Like, it's the domino effect of what's happening now is worse than the quarantine time off, I think.
Okay. Yeah, that's just absolutely horrible. Which when is that?
So it's June 2-3-4 in Texas and June 3-4-5 in Colorado.
Oh, wow.
Literally the same days.
Have you decided which one you're playing in yet?
I have like 2 days before the applications are due in Colorado, so I'm still working on it. I'm very lucky in that I have random friends and family everywhere. My mom has 6 sisters, so I tend to go where I have somewhere to stay. Really helps the budget. My best friend lives in Dallas, and so I have her house. But I don't know that golf course. They moved the venue this year. Last year was at Firewheel. I made a check there. It was nice. But this year they moved the venue, so I don't know the golf course. Colorado, on the other hand, I missed the cut last year, but I know that golf course. I used to work with a coach at that course, so there's pros.
I see the dilemma.
Yeah, that's a tough decision.
Yeah, I'm really trying to decide. I'm from Reno, so I'm good at playing at the altitude, so that's not an issue for me going to Denver. But Dallas has the exemption if you win, but the purse is bigger in Colorado. But I have a caddy that would be willing to help me out in Dallas. Like, I keep going back and forth. So no, I haven't decided because I don't know. And I'm really bad at decisions. That's why I'm single.
How are the mountains in Colorado? I hear they're pretty big. That would be a selling point to me, I'd say. The mountains.
I hate snow. I do not like skiing. I got hurt snowboarding in 7th grade, and I have yet to go to a mountain since, so I cannot help you with that question. I'm the worst. I grew up skiing and snowboarding, and only because my best friend did it, and so me and him would go all the time. I hated it. I hate being cold. I hate being I liked skiing if I could ski like in a t-shirt. Yeah. That's like pretty good. And now I'll go if I can like drink wine and sit in the clubhouse. Like the lodge, not the clubhouse. No, I don't. I live in Vegas where it's 124 degrees because I don't do cold anymore. But it's beautiful if you ever go to Dallas. It's beautiful. Or Denver.
So this is a little bit of a shift, but when I was doing my research on you, I noticed that you were on Morning Drive a few years ago. Can you tell us a little bit about what that experience was like?
That was a very interesting experience. It was awesome being on with Charlie Reimer. Unfortunately, the day we filmed was the day that Arnold Palmer passed away.
Oh, wow.
So it was a very interesting time to be at the Golf Channel.
Wow. Oh my
yeah.
God.
As you guys know, he started the Golf Channel. He's such a big part of golf. And so I was supposed to go on live with Charlie Reimer. Unfortunately, they called me, and they're like the day before, they're like, "Hey, everything's changing. Can you be here? And we'll film before, and then it'll air like 2 days later." And I'm like, "Yeah, totally." So I had just flown into Florida, 3 hours ahead of me. I had to be at the Golf Channel at 3:30 in the morning to film before they go live at 5. I drink like a pot of coffee a day. Do you know how hard it is? Like, get that much caffeine in your system before 3:30 in the morning?
Yeah.
Which is actually like 12:30 my time. So I was like, "You should not go to sleep yet." Like, it was like the amount of effort it took to film that was a lot. But it was awesome. I love the Golf Channel. They did a really cool story on me and my sister about a year before that. We're the only sisters that compete in long drive. And so so it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. They came out, they filmed. It was weird. I went to the gym and had like a little camera crew. I was like, "Oh, this is weird." But yeah, so the Golf Channel with Charlie was awesome. It was a great experience, but it was definitely an interesting time to be there. That's what I remember was it was just kind of quiet. I mean, I worked in morning news for a year, so I know what morning news should look like, and it's not what it is.
Wow.
It's definitely a different experience.
Were you kind of like that? That kind of sucks for you in a way, right? Like, I mean, it sucks for everybody, but like that's just crazy timing for you.
It was not great timing for me.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that was my one chance to be on the Golf Channel, and it kind of got thrown under a little bit. I mean, yeah, but at the same time, you know, it was also a cool time to be there. You know, a lot of people, you could tell the people that are there because they're in news and the people that are there because they're in golf. You could tell kind of how people were responding to the news and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it was definitely an interesting time, especially because at that time I had just gotten out of working in morning news. I knew what to be expecting, and it was different.
Yeah.
But it was also really exciting to go there. Golf Channel is just awesome. I just read a book called Cover Me Boys, I'm Going In by Keith Hirschland. He was the original producer at the Golf Channel, also from Reno. So like that book is really cool. It like starts in Reno and like talks about the golf courses there. And I was like, oh, I know all these. But then it goes into producing the Golf Channel. And so like it was really cool that I just finished that book. And then, like the stories with Arnold Palmer in that book and stuff. And then everything there, like everyone was like telling stories and there was all this stuff going on about Arnold Palmer. And I mean, it was a cool time to be there. But yeah, career-wise, I was like kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, I was only in Florida for a couple of days. I didn't really have time to move that experience. So for me, it was interesting, but it was also cool. I love history. I love the history of golf. I've gotten some awesome experiences. That was not awesome, but it was an interesting experience.
Yeah.
I got to play Pebble Beach with Gary Player as my partner. The stories I got from him was amazing. We're walking down the 7th hole and he's telling me, and he's like telling me all these stories, and it was great. And I got to play Cypress in the Preserve, and I got to play Waverly Country Club, the oldest country club west of the Mississippi. I've gotten like a lot of really cool experiences, and that's one that no one else has. That no one else was around to film on the Golf Channel the day that that part of history was kind of coming to an end.
Yeah. Wow. That's sad.
That was a lot of information I threw at you guys.
I don't know what to do. Now I don't know if I should cry or be happy or.
And that's kind of how I felt the whole time,
Yeah, right.
We were all like, yes, it was a sad day, but at the same time, like he's done so much, like for sports. Before Arnold Palmer, there were no big sponsorships like that, and he was one of the big ones, especially in golf, obviously, but a lot of sports grew because of him and because of the big three. A lot of people talk about Tiger, and obviously he's a huge part of what golf has become, but Arnold Palmer was like the first one to like sit on a John Deere and be like, I'm getting paid for this.
Yeah. That's the way you put it like that. That is very cool that you got to be there on that day. I don't know how to shift. I don't know how to shift to this question because
our finishing couple questions are a little on the goofier side.
I'll go. I got it. So like kind of bouncing off the whole Arnold Palmer, Arnold Palmer, great drink. What's your favorite golf snack?
Golf snack?
Yeah.
That was just a right turn, Jesus.
Here's a better scenario for you. So we're playing golf, okay? You're playing golf, and you just par 9 straight holes. You have six greens in reg, 6 fairways. So you're kind of upset, right? You're kind of like, hey, I should be 1 or 2 under. You're looking to get
with stacks here, or am I like talking about what kind of whiskey I'm drinking at this point?
What I'm saying is you head to the turn, you're even par, but you're kind of PO'd. What you need energy. What bev, what food are you gonna go with at the turn?
Am I in a tournament? Can I drink?
No, you're just with friends, but you're just kind of like, hey, I should at least be like 1 under just because like I'm playing good today.
Right. My go-to is in a situation like that is going to be a Tito's and soda with an orange. It's like summer. But I'm actually the worst on the golf course. I eat like every hole. Like I don't know how I don't weigh 400 pounds. I have like, people that play with me, like they're like, where is this food coming from? And I was like, it's in the bag. Like I
what
literally
food?
Continue to eat. I do a lot of protein bars, a lot of beef jerky, a lot of just everything that doesn't melt, and I can munch on. Like I don't want to feel full, but I'm just gonna munch because that's 4 hours out there. I'm gonna eat for 3.5 of them.
How about hot dog or hamburger?
Hamburger,
Okay.
especially if it's a bison burger.
Oh, bison burgers are
Ooh,
good.
bison
Yeah, I
burgers are
like
good.
bison burgers.
Oh my gosh, I made one the other night. It was so good. I should be 400 pounds. Like how I cook.
Nick, I know you want to ask this next question.
I got a couple.
Yeah, I
What's
know
your
you want to
favorite-
next
yeah.
next too.
Yeah. What's your favorite wine? I
Um,
noticed.
This right here.
Ooh.
That was classy. I'm sitting in my bedroom and have a bottle of wine. I actually have a few. This is Halter Ranch. It's out of Paso. So being in San Luis Obispo, I really got into wine. My best friend works for Jada Winery, which if you ever try that, it's amazing. They're a smaller winery in Paso, but their reds are absolutely to die for. Halter Ranch is great. That's their Syrah, which is my favorite. And I'm telling you guys where to go wine tasting. When you go to Paso, Halter's is awesome, huge barn, big windows. It's absolutely just a gorgeous place to go and taste and just kind of enjoy. That's like, one of the best spots in Paso. Dow is another good favorite. So George Dow, obviously of Dow Wines, used to play in the Straight Down Fall Classic, which is a pro scratch we put on every year. Cal Poly is a big part of running it. We always get a couple of big names, Freddie Couples has played the past couple of years. Tom Lehman. There's a couple of really good players every year. A lot of just like club pros. But Ricky Barnes has played. We get some good guys. And George Dow I ended up caddying for back when I was in college, and he is awesome. He runs Dow Winery, which is the highest winery in Paso. It's gorgeous. Got hooked on his wine. And then there's this little town called Los Olivos. It's just south of San Luis Obispo. They have like one stop sign, not even stoplight in the town, and like 20 tasting rooms down the main street. So it's an awesome place to go spend the day. My friends and I like to go there, and there's this vineyard called Stoltman's that does the Sangiovese that is just amazing. You guys get me on wine. I can talk all day.
We'll make this a wine podcast. I think that's the next move.
There's being a wine tasting in Alex's bedroom because it's the coldest, darkest room in my house, so I keep my wine here.
Nick, what's your favorite wine?
I'm more of like a cheap guy. I actually couldn't tell you. I really like a Barefoot Pink Moscato. Okay,
have you tried the 19 Crimes?
I've not. I'm trying to get into wine.
First off, try it. Second off, download the app because the wine bottle talks to you.
Oh.
Fancy party trick when you start drinking. So much fun.
That sounds innovative as hell.
Right? It's like the super social anxiety when you go to a party. Like, here's my party trick. Don't actually talk to me.
I will definitely be buying a bottle and just letting it talk and drink wine at the same time. I like that.
It's great. It's creepy, but it's great.
Now, my last question is, we're big fans of another World Long Drive competitor in the male section, Nick Kiefer. If you do know him.
Of course.
My question is, if you think you could beat him in a match, and then it's not that hard, Jackson beat him.
The rule with the boys is I get a yard per pound of body weight difference. So with that, I can totally beat them.
Yeah.
That's my rule going against the boys. So I like going against the big boys because I get a little more of an advantage. Keeper's great. He's one of the good ones on the tour.
Sean, do you have a question? I don't. Your face is. No question.
No.
I don't know. Nick said it was
Why
his.
Why do you want to get me on?
What?
I said, how'd you guys find me, and why'd you want to get me on the podcast?
Well, I noticed the follower, like the other day.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to say it was yesterday, but I just noticed, and then, I was like, oh, this would be great.
Perfect.
So yeah, I don't have any other questions, but this was great. You Cal Poly graduates are awesome. I must say. Thank you for coming on. It was a lot
Thank
of
you for
fun.
having me. You guys are great.
Thank you.
We will be here we will be at Cog Hill cheering you and Nick Kiefer on. Those are our 2 picks to win it all. We already had a guarantee it moment from Nick Kiefer. He's going to guarantee that he's going to win this year.
Perfect.
So do you want to guarantee that you're going to win this year?
If I get my new equipment in, yes.
Oh, nice.
Okay, guaranteed it right here. So you heard it here first on Golf.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited for this year. So last year, again, I hadn't competed for a year and a half. So I was using my equipment from 2018 going into Worlds of 19, which it was still pretty new because I hadn't competed. But at the same time, my swing had changed a bit. I lost by 9 yards to Phillips in the quarters with 3,900 RPMs of spin on my ball.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was
way high.
my response too when I saw those numbers.
Yeah, that's definitely not optimal for getting a maximum amount of distance.
So that was, I mean, looking at that, I'm very competitive still, even taking that time off and everything, you know. And so I'm excited. I'm looking at some new equipment right now, and if I can find the right stuff, I think I have a pretty good chance.
Nice.
Well, hopefully we get a come and watch you compete. That'd be pretty cool.
Absolutely. Otherwise, we're drinking together. So
works for me.
Do you have any? What are your socials basically for people who want to? I'm gonna link them in the description, but
Aphil is my Instagram, which is like the one I really try and keep updated. But if you go to swinglikeagirlgolf.com, that's kind of, I'm working on keeping that website updated, and that has links to everything else too.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm gonna end the recording here, but yeah, everyone go check out and root for Alex Phillips forever. But yeah, it was awesome having you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.